part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane,
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Worldwide. You're listening to the Krypton Report.
June is fast approaching, and that is not only Superman Day, but it's also the 10th anniversary of Man of Steel. Check out our website on Facebook for the information to join, as we will be updating it, our live Man of Steel rewatch. We'll be streaming, and we will be making an online party to rewatch Man of Steel. So please add that to your calendar. And remember,
look up in the sky!
Solomon and I just finished the Legion. Solomon, what do you think?
Wow. What is wow?
Yeah? Just wow?
Yeah. I mean, it was too darn dope. And I loved it so much.
What did you tell me about Brainiac's story? What was it like?
Pinocchio.
Ah, because Brainiac, what happened to Brainiac?
He turned to a real boy.
He did. It was really good. It was really surprising. Definitely went in a different path the last two episodes.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast. I hope you can hear me and everything's coming in great, because this has been a heck of a night. First of all, I'm your host Tyler, the Superman in Blue, the Man of Tomorrow. I'm using a new interface that I had to get because my other interface was crapping out, so I hope it sounds good and it's all dialed in.
Sounds good to me over on my end.
That's James, the Superman in Red, my best pal, with the beard of might and the Man of Steel. And then, right as we're about to start recording, my daughter decides to mess around and play with my cords and unplugs my computer and shuts down everything. And now half of my stuff's not coming back online. So I'm very frustrated and just not in a good mood. But I want to talk with James. So
it usually brightens our day.
it does. It does. So we're going to do what we can. But hey, everybody, how are you? Good, good, good. We got a few things to go over. Not a whole lot. Poor James didn't get to the comic book store this week, so we're going to have to just postpone Action 1054 for next time.
Yeah, no. Life.
It happens.
I'll be able to get to the comic book store this week and read a couple of issues on Ultra, finish up World's Finest, and the new Lost #2 is on there now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Right.
I think so.
I'll add that to our list too. But yeah, so I mean that's what's going on with us. Let's see. Let's start here. Any news? I finally found some Flash figures at Walmart. They had the Barry 2 and the Batmobile.
I was going to say, do they call them anything different? Like on the packaging to differentiate? I'm just curious if they have some sort of...
You know what? I didn't even pay attention when I got my McFarlane stuff. Kids were so pumped.
Usually I flip them over and take a look and see what they say on the back if they have some sort of different name for the character or something.
The kids were so pumped. I didn't even pay attention. They just wanted to open stuff and get to it. So hold on a second. Let me look. I'll grab my cards here because I keep all the cards in a nice binder of plastic like I did back in the day. It just says The Flash.
Okay.
And then it says on the back, it says The Flash, Batman costumed. In an alternate 2013 created by the time-traveling Barry Allen, teenage young Barry has grown up carefree with the support of both his parents, but is yet to experience the events that will transform him into the Flash, full of excitement and wonder at the arrival of his older self. Visiting from 2022. Young Barry is eager to discover whether he is able to gain the very same powers and become a superhero in his own. So, that's what I find fascinating. is, and I've seen this in a couple things in the trailer, is how this all works is because it says young Barry. So this is the regular Barry of Earth 1, just having grown up with his parents. It's not an alternate Earth Barry, like. And then if that's the case, then how does the whole Keaton thing come in? I don't know. Like, it's confusing now. Well, the different Earth made sense, but now it's Barry as if he never got his powers. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we discussed that a little bit. Like, I'm not sure what to think. This go around, like, is it different time, multiverse? What characters are we going to see? How are things going to be different? There's a lot of interesting ideas here.
Is it like, main Barry is Zack Snyder's Barry and other Barry's Justice Barry, and they gotta fight? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just like, I mean, honestly, I don't know what to expect. I'm trying to figure it out, and I'll just wait till the movie. There's context clues that makes it seem like time travel, but then when you throw in the Keaton and Kara thing, it's like, well, do they completely, like, flashpoint it where Kara came and not Cal? That makes sense, but then the whole Keaton thing, that's a different universe, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think, off mic we've chatted about it, and we've thrown a lot of different theories and things around. So I'm very interested and excited to see, what we may have guessed right.
Yeah, we will know come June, which is basically a month. Like, June itself is a month away. We are recording April 30th late at night, so by the time this drops, it'll be May 1st. Getting closer and closer all the time. All right, so let's see. The only thing I have really for news, I'm trying to calm down and come back to being happy, is we got the first image of Justice League War World, and it is the Trinity. And we were right. It is part of the continuity, the Tomorrowverse, with Jensen Ackles back as Batman, Darren Criss as Superman, and then this is the fun one, Stana Katic. I can never pronounce her name right. It's Wonder Woman, which is great because that's the Wonder Woman that we had met. She did the voice for Wonder Woman in the Justice Society of World War II, but that was a different Earth Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to meet our main Earth Wonder Woman, and it's still voiced by her, which is awesome. So
yeah, cool. The costume was definitely different, more up to date.
Yeah, it is. So that's exciting. That is continuity. That is the next film coming. Do we have a date on it yet?
I haven't seen a date on it yet. I'm wondering when, because, this year we were front-loaded heavily with Legion of Superheroes and the Doom that came to Gotham and Ruby that comes out.
It just came out
very shortly.
It already came out. It came out this past week.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have no interest in it. Yeah, I have no interest in it, so I haven't talked about it because I don't care and I'm not buying it.
Well, then you will be able to watch it when I buy it, because I probably will be.
Or I'll maybe when
I like anime, and so do my kids. So,
well, that's why James can review it. That's fine with me. I can take little bits of stride, but not on this one. I was like, I'll pass. But yeah, it just came out. So, all right, and that's all we have for news. And then for shows, we got a slam banger for us, because not only do we have Superman and Lois, but we are finishing the Legion. And I threw a poll up on what our next serious to be. I had in my notes for something, but then I was like, you know what? We're gonna throw up a poll, and I threw up a poll, and I'm curious when the poll finishes what we will officially be doing. But it's between Superboy season 3 and the Ruby Spears cartoons. And if we do the Ruby Spears, it'll be easy and quick. So that could be cool. Because
I was kind of hoping for that. I was kind of hoping for another, or to extend that gap between seasons of Superboy.
So what I'm hearing is James like triple ups his vote for the Ruby Spears. So
yeah,
we might do that. That'll be fun. Our friend Case Aiken that you haven't got a chance to chat with, you'll like him. He said if we do Ruby Spears, he definitely wants to join us. So
cool.
It might be leaning that way, and we'll get back to on that because it is fun to have these kind of backup shows to kind of follow. And as our friend Anthony from Digging for Kryptonite says, closing certain parts of our Superman fandom. So we've closed the Legion gap, and we're going to talk about it. So here we go. Season 2, Episode 12, Dark Victory, Part 1. The Legion faces Imperiex in a final battle while a traitor lurks in their midst. That is it got a 7.4 on IMDb. That is a light. What? So I did get to watch these episodes with Solomon, which was fun. So James, what did you think here?
Well, for part 1, I thought it was interesting. I didn't really see Brainy being the big bad.
Right. So basically Brainiac 5 gets taken over by
Brainiac 1.0.
And he basically betrays the Legion and kills Imperiex and kills Superman, original OG Superman. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, like, how is this happening? What? I'm like freaking out. I'm like, what is going on? There's no way.
Imperiex has been this big threat the whole season. I don't know. I guess maybe we should have known, seeing as he kind of popped in and out the way he did, but also that's kind of like the thing. Like, they could never stop him. He always gets away.
I guess.
I mean, he always beat him down and then got away usually, or they foiled a plot and it was just like one battle. But
Laura was pissed. She did not like what happened. She did not like that Sunboy got beat up and taken.
I was gonna say Sunboy had a lot of showings in these episodes, didn't he?
Yes, he did. I just, the fact that Brainiac 5 takes over, blasts OG Superman with kryptonite and kills him, I'm like, that's time paradoxing.
Yeah, and Rock, Cosmic Boy, rocking his 70s porn star hairdo. See those sideburns, man?
Yes. And you just see how, like, Brainiac just, like, took over and threw. Kel was mad because he was like, Imperiex was mine! Not
right.
Brainiac's betraying and killing us all. No. He's just like, Imperiex is mine!
Yeah. I was gonna say, are we just kind of talking about these as a whole?
Yeah. I watched them back to back. And
I did too.
So Dark Victory Part 2.
Jimmy was pumped watching Part 2.
I know. I was like, Solomon, as soon as Part 1 ended, Solomon's on his edge, like, we have to do it, Dad. I was like, we're going to. Like, this is the end, And Part 2's description is, after eliminating Imperiex, Brainiac 5 takes over his army and plans to take over the universe. With Superman thought to be dead, the other Legionnaires must stop him before it's too late. And Brainiac goes back to Kalu, and they're going to plug him into the hive mind. And I looked at Solomon like, dude, he is not going into the hive mind. He is going to take over the hive mind. And you know what happened?
Oh, yeah, I knew. He was like, nope. He wanted to be there.
I'm like, he is going to take over the hive mind.
I was like, it was just too easy for the rest of them to capture him like that.
So, I was just like, this... It was intense. I mean, because you really have the stakes higher, and of course they give like a silent funeral to Superman and jettison him into the sun. Because of course that's what you do with Superman, because Solomon's watching it like, what's going on?
I was like either he's not dead or that's just gonna like recover him, and he's gonna come back more powerful. But I'm glad that Brainiac 1 was the true villain, taking over and utilizing Brainiac 5. So Brainiac 1 was the villain, and Brainiac 5 was the ultimate hero.
Yeah, because, we find out that Superman's not dead. He's like in a status coma, so Kel has to fly to the sun to get Superman before he burns up in the sun, I guess. I don't know. And it was interesting because I'm like, well, is this going to make him more powerful? But Kel saves him, and they do this thing where they're doing like a blood transfusion, basically, between Superman and Superman X. And Superman X is his blood is adapted to not be affected by kryptonite. So I'm thinking, how does this transfusion work? Because of course it brings Superman out of his coma, but would that permanently change him so that from now on he won't be affected by kryptonite?
Right.
So when he goes back, he's gonna be like, "Oh, look, kryptonite doesn't hurt me."
I mean, maybe for at least just a little while, right?
I guess I don't know.
Maybe his body works it out of his system. Excuse me, because it's not his blood? Question mark.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
We're like, we'll figure it out, I guess.
Right. So a couple of cool things I did like. Brainiac using all of the Coluans to create one giant Brainiac, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna die."
Oh, Lightning Lad's like, "Yeah, we're gonna lose." Basically.
Yeah. He said, "Yeah, we're definitely gonna lose." That was pretty cool. Superman and Superman X going into being projected into Brainy's mind. Being deleted by Brainiac, and then Saturn Girl merging them into one, a blue and a red Superman raised up out of their bodies.
I got like super excited, like ridiculously excited, and I was like, "Oh, wow!" I'm like, "So Kel is red. Oh, there's James, and OG Superman's blue." I'm like, "Oh, this is cool. This is another example of like the red and blue energy." And we didn't even know about it.
Yeah, didn't even know it was coming. But as soon as they did that, I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." Like, I was like, "Oh, what are?" He said, "Like, you guys are too weak and you can't beat him separately or something." And she's like, and he's like, "Do it." And I was like, "Well, they're in the mind, okay, sure." And then she did that thing, and she pulled the blue and the red out, and then she did like a Dragon Ball Z fusion where they became one.
And, through their unity, it awakened Brainiac 5, and he officially destroyed Brainiac 1. And in the process, as Solomon put it, he went through his Pinocchio journey. Well, now he's a real boy.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting how that happened. Yeah, I did like that. He's like, "How could I give up on myself when you never would?" So I love that. He even still he used his idolization of Superman and his eternal hope and optimism. He used it to further himself or save himself. There we go. Couldn't find the right words.
Yeah, it was a really good. And you know what, for like we've talked about is where this season of the Legion has been very much trying to do kind of the overarching, almost Bruce Timian
nice
storyline. where it's like an overarching, but yet at the same time we felt like we just kept getting lost, where we'd go on some weird tangent and be like, okay, so what's happening with the main story? This it turned out shocking. That's all I'm gonna say. Definitely threw me for a loop. But I liked it. I'm gonna kind of miss the Legion because now me and Solomon can't cheer on Sunboy, who was the OG. But
Yeah, the way Jimmy was really excited about it, I was like, "Oh, sweet!" I say we're gonna have to. I said I got the Blu-ray here, so you're gonna have to watch it from the beginning.
And he was like, "Okay, Dad, let's do it and start it over."
Right.
And I would not fault him. I mean, I'll probably end up watching some of them again with Solomon because he missed a few. But I love it when he's into it. But all right, so now we're gonna jump over to Superman and Lois. This probably be a shorter episode than our usual podcast because we got started later because of all the technical issues, and I'm still frustrated that I want to punch my computer, but I love my computer, so I'll have to talk dirty to it later and tell it how much I love it. But Superman and Lois season 3, episode 6 of Sound Mind. Clark finds himself in uncharted territory. Lois bonds with a new friend. Superman pays Bruno Mannheim a surprise visit. Lana puts Sarah in charge while she's away at a meeting with Chrissy. All right, first thing with this episode, I must say, I'm driving, okay? And I can't remember if it was just me or if it was in our group chat. I get a message from Brian, like, Sophie's so annoying. And I'm like, are you watching Halloween Town? He's like, no, Superman and Lois. I'm like, who? He's like, Sophie. Who? He's like, my point exactly.
Okay, so speaking of our group chat, like, after watching this episode, because I made a good joke about it, you were doing the joke, like, what? Who? Like, that was funny. I mean, unless you thought it was something else at first. But
No,
still.
I knew what he meant, and, like, it's funny because, like, we love the movie, the Halloween Town movie. Like, it's just,
Hold on, pause a second.
The Halloween Towns are just family-friendly, cheesy Halloween movies. You know what I'm saying? And we love the first one, but I always found the sister Sophie annoying. So when the first thing that came to mind when he said Sophie was that, and I was just messing with him. But, it's just one of those, like, when the writer's like, we're going to put in this character, and they create one, but then they're like, we don't know what to do with her, and she disappears, and then they decide, we'll have her come back as a plot point, and this, you're just like, it's annoying just because, she's definitely getting older. You can tell the actress is growing up, but, like, she's been absent for how long? Or just kind of in the background, but the whole point that she's in this is not for her. It's not for the family. It's to give Jonathan something, because we get later in the episode where she runs off because she's hungry and Sarah tells her to get some food. And, Sarah's a dumb teenager. She doesn't even be watching her sister, okay? Kyle's out for a day date with Chrissy. And, it just happens that Jonathan, he goes with Sarah because he was studying with Sarah. And he talks her, down or into just understanding. And that's his arc. And it's his arc where he was, at the firehouse and they gave him an old uniform with Rusty on the name and it's too big. And Jordan has the great line about, you look like a full adult that has shrunk back to being 17.
He said, you look like a guy who wished to be a child again.
And so, like, I chuckled, like, hardcore about that. And
So one, I'm enjoying. I like the guy who is playing Jonathan. I think he's doing well. He did a good job in that emotional beat with Sophie. It's a little jarring hearing him talk about things that the other actor did, but that's just one of those things that you've kind of got to separate because it is a show.
Yeah.
It's the same person, same character.
This
So,
didn't try to
yeah,
do something they did on Black Lightning. Did you watch the final season of Black Lightning at all?
No, but I believe you told me about it, that when she came back from like an energy matter state, that
Yeah.
they used that as an excuse to be like, oh, you look different, and you know,
Yep.
it's
kinda
like,
reboot
and
the character.
yeah, and the only thing that bothers me about that is it's purely for the audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you recast somebody and they're playing the exact same character, it's the audience's job to associate that as the same character. Like, it doesn't matter that they look different, it is the same character. So to have to come up with an excuse for the audience, you know what I'm saying? It's not for the people in the show, especially in this respect. So
Yeah.
in this respect, it was done well, you know?
It was. I like the new guy. And I really liked Jordan.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I wish it was still him, but in some ways, I kind of wish Michael Bishop here had started from the beginning to kind of go through the roller coaster ride of the character. But, you know, with him working at the fire station, and because of the events with helping Sophie, you know, Kyle backs off on him a little bit of being as you know,
Yeah.
hard as he is.
I don't pay you nothing just to stand around.
He's like, your generation, man. They just want to hurry and get to the top. Like, no.
No, it was really good. I did like, though, Lil Kent. And he's, what are you, Kansas or Smallville's worst rapper?
Jordan had the good lines on him this episode, man.
Yeah, he did. No, the thing I was saying, though, the even though she was a plot point to kind of drive a little bit of Jonathan's storyline forward, they actually utilized her very well in this episode. I did make a joke about what Brian had said, because we hadn't seen the episode yet, about, well, you would be acting out too if your parents and family and friends acted like you didn't exist because you were never around.
Mm-hmm.
So I did make a nice, it was a funny joke, because it is true. The character only pops in and out. But what she did this episode and the way she was used, I was kind of like, that was kind of an asshole thing to say about her character in this episode. I was like, because that was a poor girl, you know. Everybody's got things going on in their life, and unfortunately she kind of fell through the cracks. And I mean, I know it was written in as kind of a plot thing, but she is still part of the show, and she has been from the beginning. So the idea that she is suffering with, like, everybody being so busy that she's kind of being left out and forgotten about, it was rough, you know. I mean, that's a terrible thing to have to deal with, especially as a, you know, like 12-year-old.
The saddest part is, you know, they bring her in for this big dramatic part, and then she's nothing. And speaking of people and being brought in, no John Henry Irons and no Nat this week. Not even a mention. Now, we talked about 2 episodes ago, and I think it was 2 episodes when John was there, that he was going off to protect this world's John Henry Irons' family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but there is no Nat or John in this episode, and no mention of them either. So I always hate when there's like no dialogue, but we get Sophie back. It's like, you got to pick, guys. You want Soph? You want Nat? Like, come on.
Well, we only have so much time on screen, and as long as everybody gets their proper, you know what I mean? I would think it would be, it would feel like if Sophie never was brought up again. Yeah. If Sophie was never brought up again, it would be like Donna's younger sister.
Exactly.
From that 70s show. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
And that would be wrong.
It would be. it's just one of those things where they create a character and then they're like, oh, what do we do with this character? All right, so we're in this vein. Let's talk real quick. Kyle and Chrissy still shacking up. Chrissy's, talking with Lana, and Chrissy basically tells Kyle like she hates holding this back from Lana, and then
she don't gotta hold it back much longer now, does she?
Yeah,
or anymore.
we find out. Lana finds out in a very weird, awkward way. Kyle's in the store on one side of the aisle, and then Lana he's looking and then looks on the other side, and there's Chrissy kind of like hiding her head, and she's like, "Oh, this is what my daughter's missing."
Yeah. Well, I mean, most people when they see their ex with somebody, it's a little upsetting in some way, some form or fashion. But it just happened at the worst possible time where their daughter is missing. So otherwise, I don't think her reaction would have been as harsh.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was literally a circumstantial time when that happened. Because something later on happens in the episode when Jordan and John walk off screen for their final time, where he's like, well, Sarah likes, and he's like, you hung out with Sarah. Now, if Jonathan were to start dating Sarah, that'd be a huge breach of the bro code.
That'd be not only a breach of the bro code, that'd just be a breach of crap and bad writing. That's just drama for drama's sake.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what Jania even said. She's like, come on. I'm like, no. I was like, because I am a big champion for male-female friendships.
Yeah.
Like, healthy, honoring, like, just showing that men and women can be friends and have great relationships. That's why I've always, in this series, I've liked the way they've done the Lana and Clark relationship.
Yeah,
so,
there was a romantic interest there, but they are still just great friends.
And with Sarah, like, and Jonathan, I think they could be good friends. He could kind of lean on her for just a friendship with him, now getting over another girlfriend. Poor guy. And then, she's getting over Jordan and wherever that is. But yeah, if something would happen between them two, I would be very upset with the writing and feeling like you're just creating drama where there doesn't need to be anything. And
yeah,
that's just problems.
Right. I definitely feel that way too. That should be a no-go, I mean, but when you're talking about a divorced man and a relationship with somebody, like, it was all circumstantial the time when she found out, so why she's so upset.
Yeah, and I told Jania, I was like, Lana doesn't have to worry. She'll be getting somebody here soon when he gets back in town. He rolls up back in the John wagon. And then the last, I think, beat for that side is Kyle basically comes to Chrissy and she thinks he's breaking up or whatever, and he basically says no, he wants to, solidify their relationship as a couple and be an actual couple and, not hide everything. So that was cool. Like, as much as I hate how they kind of did Kyle with the whole him cheating on Lana and that whole thing, I do still think they found a way to make him a good person, a good character.
Yeah, I think they dropped us in at the worst time in their lives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he seems like the bad guy, but it's really not just him, and he really is a good guy and a good father. I do like the pairing. I like that I do like the pairing of him with Chrissy, and the potential future pairing of John Henry and Lana.
So it'll come together. Let's see here. So that's that group of characters. Jordan has his own little arc where he's training with Clark, and he thinks he's ready. And Clark takes him to the cave and turns up the Atomic Skull and Bizarro, and then uses battle drones to shoot him with lasers. And my favorite line in setup in this episode is Jordan comes back and he's yelling, and it's a very strong emotional moment between Lois and Clark, but then it's ended with shoot. What, you shot our son with lasers? And like it was just it was a really good way of like kind of ending on a joke, but without being too like where you just threw away all the drama you just had in the last moment.
Right. Well, kind of the also the thing like during their training session when Jordan finally got upset and everything, he says, every time I pass one of your tests, or what did he say specifically? Anytime I pass one of your lessons, there's another one to learn. And it's like, well, yeah, like you're talking about like saving people like Superman. That's like a global scale and making some of the hardest choices you could ever make.
Yeah. And Jordan says he says
like lessons never stop with that.
I have Superman to teach me. I have my dad Superman to teach me.
Yeah, like there's no greater teacher you could ask for.
Because Clark says, like, I didn't have anyone. Like, I had to figure this out on my own. He talks about threat assessment, risk assessment. He's like, well, I have you to teach me, but I still have to, be able to do things and learn. So that was really good.
Yeah, which was good, too, because Jordan went to save the day, a mudslide or a flood in, I think it was Utah.
Yeah.
And he went and saved the day. He comes back and he's covered in mud, which makes for a great family moment of him like, you need to take a shower and stop getting mud on the floor. It was really good. But
yes,
but,
I love that. Like, dude, because that is so Solomon, dude. Just like oblivious, like, dude, take your shoes off. Like,
right. But Clark is very mad at him for doing what he did, for going out and saving. But Lois says she said it was okay.
Yeah,
and he pulls back. Like, I like that she is trusting him and giving him that support, especially with what happens when Onomatopoeia, because we're still calling her that, lures Superman with Lois's voice sounding like she's in trouble. And between them and some kryptonite laser guns, they are really putting it to Superman, like potentially about to kill him. When she
tells him to go save his dad.
Yeah. Go save your father. I love it because he's like, you got to call Grandpa, and then he says, Dad's not. They'll never get there in time, and she says, Dad says I'm not ready, and she's like, you're ready. Go save your father. And Jamie was like, that's a really hard, and like she was like, maybe that's even a bad thing to put on your child. But I was like, well, he's the only one. Like, that's a Superman level thing you have to do. Like, he's the only one who has the strength and the speed to be able to get there in time to save him.
Exactly. And it was a great scene. And what was interesting was before that scene, just a little bit before that scene, Jania, she looks at me, she goes, have we ever seen what kryptonite does to Jordan? And I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah, and not then, specifically that I can recall.
Exactly. And then in that scene, he gets shot by the kryptonite cannon, knocks him out, but he pops back up. And when they get back home, he says kryptonite affects him differently. He gets that from you.
Well, yeah, because that is one thing that's been really good about this show is they haven't used kryptonite as a crutch to weaken Superman to have him be overwhelmed.
I mean, no and yes. I mean, they've used kryptonite weapons. They've, what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Because the DoD had a bunch stolen, and then we have these that were used in this episode.
It's been around, and it's been a threat, but it's not been the only threat, and it has been something that he has been able to overcome. But in this case, like, he was almost going to be dead, and Jordan took out all of those people, and so he was only contending with Onomatopoeia and the sonic waves, when it came down to it in the end after Jordan got shot.
And I love, Jordan's getting hurt and Dad just snaps,
And you know what I thought? I thought that maybe there was some sort of lead protection from the DoD suit for Jordan in it, but just from the look of it after it took some of the damage. But I was like, I don't know, maybe. And then he popped up and then he said, what he said, he reacts differently or whatever.
So it was really good with that. And so that, all right, so we're kind of whittling it back. Because, the main story of this is Lois in her next cancer treatment. And I can't remember her friend's name. That they're talking and,
Pia?
Is that what it is? Pia?
I think
yeah,
so.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. My bad. I suck. But, Pia's asking about her story on Bruno Mannheim and what's going on with it. And she's like, well, let me show you. And she takes her out basically into Hobbs Bay. And she's talking about the good that Mannheim's done. And what's happened. And we were at this restaurant. She's like, I've never heard of this place. Well, it's like, it just kind of is new because it used to be this or it used to be that. And Lois is getting a different perspective on the Hobbs Bay Hospital and the type of people that work there. And, they're talking about how Lois is about to lose her taste because she's in her third or about to start her fourth treatment.
Yeah, and she said that's when her taste buds went to hell.
So, they're going out to, eat and everything. And her and Lois are bonding, and that's good. And the big thing is, this episode starts with Clark in basically therapy. And he's listening to people talk about their testimonies about what they've been through. And we find out the lady who hosts it, her husband went through it, and it got to the point where he was staying alive and suffering just because of her. And she eventually had to say she had to tell him it was okay to let go. And then the next scene, Clark's there, and he was done already? He's like, yeah, wasn't for me. And so Clark actually had a really good arc in this episode with just learning to let go and that he doesn't have control. And that him and Lois are going to butt heads because he's going to, Lois is angry because she's trying to prepare for death just in case. And Clark's like, nope, you're going to beat this. Nope. And he has to come around to, he can be hopeful and optimistic with the determination that she is going to beat it, but they still have to prepare. And he needs to be with her, with what she's feeling, and not just basically try to force his feelings on her. So it was good stuff.
And it was a good bookend for the episode, starting there and ending there.
Yes, it starts in him in therapy and it ends with him going back to therapy.
Yeah, starts the episode with him as Clark, ends the episode with him as Clark.
I took a big drink of water. But I'll leave this up to my buddy James here. James, my man.
Yeah.
What is the big reveal in this episode?
So the big reveal, I called it. I'm pretty sure I called it at the dinner scene. That I bet she is Automatopoeia. And it is the cancer patient that Clark and Lois have been talking to. Pia, who Lois went out to dinner with. She is Automatopoeia. I am thinking she is related to Mannheim in some way or married to Mannheim in some way.
That's what I thought. Because my thing is, I told Jania, I was like, she's never really said her husband's name or anything. So the whole time I started putting together, what her husband's Bruno Mannheim.
Oh, okay,
then,
yeah, married.
And then the end happens, and I'm like, oh, she's Onomatopoeia and Bruno's wife. At least that's how I think. That's how I'm interpreting it. So,
just for some reason, I felt this episode that I was like, this isn't who we have thrown an idea out there. We haven't said it was her, but maybe. I was like, it's not. I was like, it's not. And then this episode, it just kind of was like, that's her. And it was.
You know, and it's interesting because does she have her powers because Mannheim gave them to her somehow? Because we get the scene with the earlier, we got the scene with the deadlock or deadline or something. The guy that Clark fought last time.
Yeah, I think it was Deadline.
And he goes to the DOD and Sam basically tells him to take him because he's screaming, "Take me to Bruno Mannheim." And Clark sees the cancer, the lymphoma spreading through his body. And he pops into Bruno's office and he's screaming at Bruno. And Bruno's like, "I don't know, take him to a hospital." And then Clark eventually flies out to a hospital with him and he dies. So what we look at in this episode is we have this kind of parallel between Bruno Mannheim being someone who's doing everything he can to save people and, you know, stop death and cure people. And Clark, who's trying to let go and knows that he can't, you know, stop death and save everybody. And where they're both two men trying to deal with the situation of their wives, while Bruno's going about it in a misguided, positive way. Clark's doing what he can to support his wife. So it was a good episode. I mean, this whole season, I don't think there's not been one bad episode or one misstep so far.
Oh no, not at all. I haven't seen anything. I've fully enjoyed every single episode.
And
I'm really gonna be, if this show stays this way for another season and it ends after season 4, I'm just gonna be like, fantastic show from beginning to end.
I'm telling you, my theory is it'll go 5 seasons. My theory is it'll end right before Superman Legacy comes out. That's my working theory. It'll be just something to keep the character. Because I had an interesting conversation recently with Phil and Lilith, celebrating Superman's 85th anniversary, and just talking about whatever. And the one thing we said that we brought up is like, there's been such a lack in Superman merchandise and the character being present in anything. And the fact is we have this great, amazing representation of this character in the show, but there is no merch for this at all. There's no shirts. There's not even generic Superman t-shirts I can walk in and find at Walmart for the kids. There's no like Tyler McFarlane toy yet. There's no poster. You know, think about some of the other Arrowverse shows when they came out, how you could find some merch and stuff for them. Like, you know, I had a Flash t-shirt from Grant Gustin's from Hot Topic, you know, and everything. But there is nothing for this show, and it is like the best representation of this character. And it's heartbreaking. You know, I could probably find a Superman and Lois type shirt if I like searched hard, but I shouldn't have to. Like, there should be something.
Oh yeah, it's just it's a well-written show, it's a well-produced show, it's a well-acted show. It's, yeah, I mean, every aspect of the show is top-notch for, you know, the quality being Superman, this larger than life character, this literal godlike being, the way it's pulled off, but the groundedness they have to it, the characters they utilize, the actors who portray them, so fantastic.
Yes, it is.
Like, and it's not just one. It's not just one thing of Superman. Like, it's pulls from so many areas of Superman from all different mediums.
Yep. It's the greatest remix, greatest hit Superman there is. And I love it. And I'll be honest,
with great original stories.
Yes. That's why, like, you know, everyone's talking about what Superman Legacy is going to be and all this, and I'm like, I'm excited just to see it on the big screen. But to me, this is Superman. This is where it's at, and this is one of my favorite interpretations of the character. And
I'm
very
yeah,
happy with this.
Like, I mean, I mean, it's got to go for me like Henry Cavill's Superman, Tyler's Superman. You know, and then so many different in between, like down below.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can really rank them at all. I mean, we've talked about this before, like who's your favorite? And I think, you know, right now Tyler's my favorite because this version really is speaking to me and touching me in my life. Like, just like how Tom Welling was the perfect Superman for what I needed in my life at the time that Smallville did beat. So I don't know if I can ever say who my favorite is or what I really liked Brandon when he shown up. It represented something for me when Superman Returns came out, and Man of Steel represented something big, and we'll get into more of that this year because it's 10 year. But
I have a favorite, but I don't have one that's like that I do not like.
Oh, I like them all.
Yeah.
All right, last question for you, James, and we'll weed out here. Are you caught up on Titans?
I haven't even been able to start Titans, man. The second part here.
Get off my podcast.
I'm gonna finish it. I just haven't had a chance here. But yeah, it's coming up. I'm gonna be jumping on it here shortly.
That's fine. I just wanted to ask. Like it's been interesting. But all right, that's us for now. We're kind of catching up.
Well, seeing as it's like the final stuff here, I mean, it's almost like when that series finale drops, it's like boom, binge it right through to the end.
That'd be James, like the little engine that could.
Yeah.
So that's me and James signing off after this long night of computer battles. Remember, Superman loves you. He's everybody's friend. And remember,
Look up in the sky.
we just want to say if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on the Press Play Podcast Network. Information $1 a month. You'll get extra special content that you don't get on the main show, like movie commentaries and whatever else comes out of our mouths. So check it out, patreon.com/Krypton. Before we start this episode of Krypton Report, I want to take a moment and just give a shout out here to our Patreon. I know what you're thinking. Gosh, everyone's asking for money, and I get it. But our Patreon is only $1. $1 a month. It helps us keep the podcast going. And what we do is we try to find interesting shows and topics and whatever we want to talk about. We've done, as of this little thing, our last recordings were on the Scream series. Brian and Tyler, that's me, do our own show where we record in the car, and it's kind of funny. And we talk about pop culture or whatever is going on. We also have the Supernatural podcast we've been reworking. It's taken on some time just because of life. But we do movie commentaries as well. It's something that James and I have done, what we used to do on the main show that we've started doing here. So for $1 a month on our Patreon, you can get those shows. There's at least 4 a month. Also, there's my movie pitch show that I do. But also, what we want is if you're a Patreon, you can come on. You can come on the main show if you want. Or if there's something you want to come on and talk about, we can do it as a Patreon special. So all I want is for $1 a month, think about chipping in, joining our Patreon, and you have a voice to be a part of things. Follow the link in the link tree or in the show notes below, patreon.com/Krypton Report. We're going to press pause and hear a few words from our other podcasts on Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us and then listen in.
If you are like Tyler and James and can't get enough super talk, check out these other podcasts. Digging for Kryptonite, Supergirl Radio, The Last Sons of Krypton, The Superboy Legacy Podcast, All-Star Superfans, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Aspiring Kryptonians, Always Hold On to Smallville, The Geek of Steel, and Truth, Justice, and Hope.
Remember to check out Krypton Report on all social media platforms. Go to linktree.com/Krypton Report. You find all of our report.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.